If you lived in a big Japanese city before modern times and you wanted a fun night out, you likely would have hit the red light district, a walled-off world of adult entertainment, full of magic and fun and suffering, so much suffering, which is wonderful because
So
from
much
suffering
suffering.
comes many yokai. Yokai just means Japanese supernatural creature. There's one called Kosode no te, or Kosode hands. A kosode is a robe with short sleeves, but actually this creature can appear in any clothing. In one story, a man buys his daughter a kimono. She is delighted, but soon strange things start happening around the house. His daughter becomes so sick she can't get out of bed. One night, the man walks down the hall and sees a female ghost, a ghost wearing the same kimono. He freaks out and hangs the kimono on a rack, planning to sell it first thing in the morning. And that's when he sees two pale arms stretch out from the sleeves of the kimono. While he's questioning his life choices, the man sees something odd in the fabric of the kimono. It
Questioning his
almost
life
looks like there used to be a cut across the front, and it was sewn back up. He realizes that the piece of clothing must have belonged to a woman whose life ended at the slash of a sword. The next day, the man donates the haunted kimono to a temple, and the monks say some prayers. When he returns home, he finds his daughter dead. Recovered. She recovered from her illness. Kosode no te come from the clothing of former prostitutes. Ladies of the Red Lantern District spent years saving money to buy their
Dead.
freedom, but
Recovered.
most died before they could. If a woman died before all her clients paid, her clothing might come alive to collect the debt. There's another way this yokai can come alive. After someone died, it was proper to pass down their clothing to a family member as inheritance.
Imagine that,
Sakura,
you don't
your
pay.
father left you his estate, and Nobu to
And
you
you get
left his
haunted.
used underwear. Or you could donate their clothes to a temple, and the temple would offer some prayers to help the
Used
person in the
underwear.
afterlife. If instead a family member did the unthinkable and sold the garments, the
Oh
audacity,
yes,
the
how
dead
dare
person would have
you!
been
The
unable to
audacity.
pass on. Daddy would have had to live out his afterlife inside his boxers. Kejoro, or hair prostitute. The idea for this creature might have come from a scientific phenomenon called backside surprise. It's when you see a beautiful person from the back, then you eagerly try to
Dude,
look at
never
the front,
have
and their face
this.
hits your eyes like a katana. From the back,
You look at
she
someone
looks
from the
like a
back and they look
courtesan with
amazing, and
long,
then they
beautiful
turn
hair,
around, they're
flaunting
like,
a flawless figure that could make
no,
a monk
thank you.
lose his path to nirvana. From the front, she looks the exact same, because you can't see her face, it's just hair. I've asked the yokai community, and no one knows for sure whether this backside beauty has a face underneath those luscious locks, or whether there's no face at all. Some kejoro have hair, not just on their heads, but long hair covering their entire bodies. And for some, the bodies are just hair and nothing else. Kejoro sightings are pretty similar. A man
Hair
sees a
balls.
beautiful girl from the back, and he runs up to see her face, only to be horrified that she doesn't shave. Most stories end here, but
She
sometimes the
doesn't
kejoro
shave.
lovingly wraps the man in her hair, squeezing
I feel
him
cold
until he's
out
all
because I
sliced
need to
up
go
like
shave.
sashimi.
Well,
Even though humans
shave
find them
wax.
ugly, kejoro are popular with other male yokai who have been known to fight over them. Some non-Japanese
I
creatures
need
might
to
not
schedule
find
my
her that
waxing
bad looking
appointment this
either.
week.
You would know a kejoro is into you if she cuts some hair and sends it to you. Roses are red, violets are blue. Here is some hair straight from my boobs. There's one kejoro origin story that I love. Once in a while, a woman of the Red Lantern District might have a client who wants to buy out her contract and put a ring on her, but the guy's not sure if she's playing him like a shamisen. It's hard to convince a man that your love is true when your love is also smeared on 10 other men every day. So these women found creative ways to prove their devotion. One technique was to shave her own head and tattoo her lover's name on her body. Nothing kills a client's little samurai faster than seeing another man's name moving rhythmically in front of his face. Sadly, this wasn't always enough, and many women not only lost their chance at freedom, but also their income. If this happened, I know what you're thinking. Did all that shaved hair go to waste? Fortunately, no. All that shaved hair turned into a kejoro. O kamuro or o kaburo, it means great kamuro. Kamuro, back in the day, meant apprentice courtesans, kind of like little girl servants for courtesans. The yokai Okamuro looks like a man cross-dressing as a girl servant. He's kind of too big for the outfit, which is one clue that he's not a young girl. Another clue is that he looks like
It's
a
just
dude.
one
This
clue.
yokai was likely made up to criticize male brothels, which had on the menu young boys dressed as kamuro. The old kamuro often wears a kimono with chrysanthemum designs on it, which is
Goddamn.
kinda cute, until you realize that the chrysanthemum was a symbol for male sex. And then it's really cute. Why chrysanthemum? Because it looks like a butthole. Here's one nice Okamuro
It
story.
makes good
One
tea,
day, a
though.
courtesan was trying to put on
Completely
ohaguro, that
unrelated.
stuff used to blacken teeth, but it wasn't prepared right. It wouldn't stick. She got mad and dumped the boiling liquid, but instead of a trash
Wait,
can,
why would
she
you
used the mouth
blacken
of a
your
nearby
teeth?
kamuro that she grabbed. The black stuff flowing down the throat of the little girl wasn't a pretty sight, and she didn't have a pretty death. Afterwards, they said, at night, you could hear the voice of a girl calling out for revenge. Taka-ona, tall women. They look like normal ugly women with blackened teeth who roam the Red Lantern district, but they can stretch their bodies so tall it would embarrass their prom dates. Sadly, they didn't have prom dates because they used to be women who were too ugly to marry or do sex work. Their jealousy and sexual frustration changed them into resentful monsters. These tall women do a lot of useful things with their powers, like peeking into multi-story windows of brothels and even homes to look at couples getting frisky, and sometimes triples. A Taka-ona doesn't attack people, but she does enjoy scaring the piss out of clients of pleasure houses. Their fault for being able to experience the physical affection she never knew. Some men may complain that it's unfair for them to suffer just because the Taka-ona had a bad life, but the Taka-ona would just tell them to take their complaints and stick it up their chrysanthemums. Kera-kera-onna, cackling woman. Kera-kera is the sound of cackling, apparently. These are huge yokai that look like middle-aged women in colorful clothing, with makeup as thick as peanut butter and lipstick as smeared as jelly. Back then, women of the pleasure houses lived pretty decent lives compared to Rwandans in the Rwandan genocide. Women of the pleasure houses didn't live long. After all the tedious hours and tedious abuse, not many women reached middle age. The ones that did were special. When they died, their spirits couldn't move on from all that suffering. The spirit of such a woman turns huge for some reason, and they walk the empty streets and alleys of the pleasure district laughing and dancing. Laughter brings joy to people's hearts, but this is an exception. Her laughter brings crazy to your brain. It echoes inside your skull for the rest of your life. Most people can't handle it and go mad because they're weak. It doesn't bother yours truly because it drowns out the other voices. Kera-kera-onas are pretty big, but there are yokai bigger than mountains. Click here to see more gigantic, titan-sized yokai. We have a new emperor on Patreon today, Captain Arpania. Thank you, Captain.
This was
we
a
also
cool
have new
video.
Regular patrons, Traveling Capricorn, Heba, King Crow,
like
and
that.
Peepzilla. Thanks so much,
These are
guys.
5
I love
yokai you
Spread
can
the
find in the
knowledge.
Red Lantern District.
Yokai